What? Do you want one? Does that look delicious? Let's see. Should we say happy birthday? Tinkerbell, say happy birthday. No, it's her birthday. Okay. Hello, my name is Kate and welcome to Habits of a Modern Hippie. You notice that I'm sitting a little strangely today. It is because I am. I've got crutches in the back, but standing to cook is not something that's super comfortable. So I've got my giant walking boot on still, and we'll just go ahead and get started. Meeko, are you the star of the show today? Come here. Come on. Hi, this is Meeko. Not for you yet. It is Meeko's 5th birthday today. So, as you can see by the pumpkin we're having here, we are going to be making some pumpkin puree and then a pupcake for Meeko turning 5. Are you so excited for a birthday cake? Yeah? What? Are you so excited? Meeky, you can't have it right now. Can you say woo? Tinkerbell can say a woo. Come here, Tink. Come here, Tinkerbell. And this one back here. Meeko, can you go down so we can introduce your sister, please? Come here. Come here, Tink. And this is Tinkerbell. Tink is 8, so it is not your birthday today, but you get one too. Huh. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and make this. I will pop a link to the blog post for the recipe down below. And I will kind of tell you what I'm doing as we're going along. Oh shoot, I forgot to. Well, step number 1, preheat your oven. You are preheating it to 350. And ingredients wise, you're going to need 3 cups of flour. This flour depends on what you want. I'm using unbleached, just regular flour. You can use, if your dog is sensitive to gluten, something like our garbanzo bean, I guess that like gluten-free flour mix, but I would look into the ingredients first to make sure that that's okay. For the frosting, I've got a block of cream cheese out that I'm waiting for it to get to room temperature. Then you're going to also need a few tablespoons, I believe I'm probably going to put about 4 tablespoons of coconut oil. I have 3 eggs from the chickens in my backyard. We're going to do a cup of pumpkin puree and then some more pumpkin puree to put in to the frosting. And then 2 teaspoons of baking soda for it to rise, and we're going to do both cinnamon and ginger. Cinnamon is really good for blood sugar, so especially if you have an overweight dog, that one kind of helps maintain a healthy weight. And then ginger is really great for their stomach. One spice that's very autumnal and a lot of people want to put into pumpkin everything is nutmeg. And while nutmeg is amazing for humans, it can be toxic to dogs, so stay away from that. And yes, let's go ahead and get started. I'm just gonna peel these guys off, make a little bit of puree. I do have a recipe for the puree as well, so if you want that, that will be in the description below, but it's essentially like roasting a pumpkin and chucking it in a food processor. Now that the puree is pureed, we are ready to get started. However, when it comes to pumpkin puree, if you don't want to take the time to roast your own pumpkin, don't have access to a pumpkin, etc., you can totally just grab a can of pumpkin from the grocery store. Just make sure it's not pumpkin pie filling, which is like added sugar and all of that stuff. You want actually just pure plain pumpkin. So the making of this is super easy. All we're doing is adding dry ingredients together and wet ingredients together, and then blending that whole thing. And it's fun because when you're making dog treats out of like human grade stuff, essentially it's going to taste good for you too. There's nothing weird that's going in here. There's no like turkey flavor or meat or anything like that. So you'd make this the same way as you'd make a regular cake. It just happens to be dog friendly, which is always exciting. All right, now that those dry ingredients, meaning the spices, the flour, and the baking soda, are all mixed together, we're gonna go ahead and mix up the wet ingredients. I'm actually think I'm gonna pop this back in here, mainly because I don't wanna do extra dishes because standing up is a pain in the butt. So I'm gonna put this back in here until I put that in jars to freeze for later. You stay there, and I'm just gonna get a cup of that pumpkin out so we can mix that is the preheated oven. So we can mix the pumpkin, the eggs, and the oil together. Okay. So we're just mixing up the wet ingredients. It's because coconut oil, I didn't melt it. It will melt when it gets in there. You've got to make sure that you mix it quite well. You could be using like a KitchenAid or a hand mixer for this, but honestly right now, I'm not overly concerned about how fluffy these are going to be, mainly because the dogs are going to demolish them in like 3 seconds anyway. So you just want to make sure everything is mixed very well. All right, so once you have gotten all of the clumps out of your wet mixture, it's way easier if you heat up the coconut oil first, but quite frankly, I don't feel like moving as much, so I wasn't about to go heat that up. So I'm gonna add the wet into the dry. Okay, I have combined my wet ingredients with my dry ingredients, and while these are going to be cakes, they're going to be a really dense cake, so the batter isn't going to look like very liquid cake batter, and that is totally fine. It's going to kind of be somewhere in between cake and bread, so it's stickier than bread would be, but it's not quite cake, and that's going to be fine. It's going to bake well, and I don't need super puffy cakes anyway because they're going to be given to dogs, and there's no sugar in here, and a lot of times when you beat the sugar and the egg and the other ingredients like that, it's going to give you that more liquid consistency, and I don't with this, and that is totally fine. All right, we are ready to pop these guys in. I am using reusable silicone liners, but you can use whatever liners you have on hand for your pupcakes. We're gonna fill these probably about 3/4 of the way full, just because they're not going to rise as much as a regular cupcake would because they are dense, they do have coconut oil, and there's not that sugar in there as well. So I'm gonna pull out an ice cream scoop because sometimes it's easier that way, but just gonna take some of this and pop it in. Okay, all of the cupcakes are in here. We've still got probably about 6 cupcakes left, so makes about 18. I am going to pop these into the preheated oven for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. You'll see they'll start to rise a bit, get a little bit rounded, and then brown on top. And because I put the coconut oil in when it was cold and room temperature, that's actually going to melt first and will infuse everything else in there, even though it's already incorporated correctly. So we'll get a little bit liquid and then it will puff up, and that way it actually makes the pupcakes a little bit easier for the actual pups to eat them. Do you want to sniff them first? Normally I wouldn't let the dogs up on the counter, but because this is for them, it doesn't really bother me that much. What do you think about this? Yeah? No, you can't eat them yet. They're not baked. But is it for your birthday? Tinkerbell, can you say happy birthday to Meeko? Say happy birthday. All right, these are going in the oven. Okay, so timer is set for 15 minutes, and while those are baking, we are going to make our icing here. Essentially, we're taking that room temperature cream cheese, we're gonna pop it in a bowl, We're going to whip it up with a little bit extra of that pumpkin puree, so it'll be a nice little kind of orangey color. And then when we put it into our piping bag, we're going to add a stripe of the pumpkin down as well, so we get a fun little swirl. So this is 8 ounces of cream cheese. And just maybe a couple tablespoons of the pumpkin puree. Seriously, pumpkin puree is delicious. It's also fun cooking when it is just for dogs, because like me licking my fingers and then sticking them in there isn't a big deal, which is great. And they're my dogs. It would probably be a little bit different if I was making these for a dog birthday party, which yes, I have had, by the way. And had planned on doing this year, and then broken foot, well, ankle didn't help that one very much. So we are going to whip these up. Okay, so we have our pumpkin cream cheese mixture. I bet you this is actually delicious. So good. That would be amazing on a bagel. So I'm going to leave this here for now. I will come back when those guys are all puffed up and ready to go, and then we will pop it in our bag and frost them up. All right, look how fun these guys look. Like I said, they do not look like cupcakes. They're very similar to cupcakes, but they're definitely a little bit more like craggy, etc. They don't rise as much and they don't rise as uniformly, but I love them. You can't see them, but the dogs back here are being very silly. These are, and the reason why I can hold the pan is I actually popped these in the fridge for a little bit to cool down, because you never want, even if they're not a real cupcake, to ice hot cake. You want to come say hi, birthday girl? Say hi. Mwah. All right. Do you want to try a little bit of this? Is that yummy? We're going to give Tinkerbell some? You got to get down. Come here. You want some? Good girl. All right. So, to make the frosting look cool, what I have is reusable piping bag. There's a metal tip on here. That's one of the star tips, a larger star tip. And then if you're using a reusable piping bag, obviously we've got one of these little plastic guys, and then this spins on to keep everything in place. If you are using just like the end of a plastic bag or something of the sort, you just snip off the end. You don't need the paraphernalia here, but I love it. And you know me, if you can get it reusable, why not? So what I'm going to do to make that swirl is I'm going to take more of this pumpkin puree, and I'm just going to coat a line down the side with a knife. Butter knife, don't cut your bag. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this and just kind of paint on the inside all the way down towards the tip. And that just means that as you're swirling the icing out, it will show up pretty. Obviously, it is not necessary, but we all know I'm extra when it comes to my dogs. All right, I'm just gonna use my spatula and get all of this fun pumpkin cream cheese. You want it to be relatively, not like runny because it's too warm, but room temperature so it's easier to squeeze out. And obviously I am not a professional baker in any way, shape, or form. I just love doing it. We're gonna push all of this down. Twist the top so you've got a handle to go. And here comes, I'm gonna squeeze it out until I get cream cheese and pumpkin at the same time. So that looks ready to go. So I'm just doing cute little swirls here. You can see the pumpkin comes out as it goes around. But these will be super fun. I don't want to go overboard when it comes to icing, or because dogs, they go everywhere. Meeko, leave the kitty alone. My mom is in town And Meeko is staring at the cat who is drinking out of her water bowl right now. It is quite amusing. So these are all iced and super easy to do, really fun to do as well. I am going to give the pups some, so we will see that footage here. All right, I'm gonna take these out of the little cases, and because they had coconut oil in them, they come out very easily. Dun dun dun. One for Meeko, one for Tinkerbell. And normally Tinkerbell gets fed first, but because it's Meeko's birthday, do you want this? I'm gonna have her lick off the top first. You just inhaling, and then here you go. All right, Tink. Tink is a lot more dainty. There you go. So fun. You want another one? Was it really yummy? Okay, you can have one more small one. One more. You Sid. Can you say please? Say please. Please. No, that's not gonna happen. Okay, come on, Meeko. Oh my goodness, those drool marks. You need to chew, puppy. Not eat it on the... Here, Tink, you can have one more. Tink. Tinkerbell. Here. Hey! Meeko. All right. Well, that was exciting. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hey! If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. We are gonna go feed these lovely ladies, quite a few of these, because birthdays are the best, huh? But we will see you again soon. Bye.